Good evening, kings and queens. This is your guy, King Lee, and just doing a show today on how black people on different walks of life feel about what's going on in the black community, how the world and how this country is in this day and age. I'd like to let you know that you watch mainstream media, they're not going to give you people that's going to work every day or people that's in shopping malls or whatever. They're not going to give you their opinions on how they feel about what's going on in this country and in our world today. So with that being said, that's my job. I like to get people's perspective on different things that affects the black community in particular, and also how this country and this world is affecting our lives. So today on my show, I have my wife, Kalitha. Gonna ask her some questions and how she feels about the state of Black America, the state of the Black diaspora as a whole, and what things in this country and in this world is affecting us as a group, and also how we affect each other as a group. So, with that being said, Kalitha, welcome to the Stand Tall Show. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me, Stand Tall and King Lee. Appreciate it. Appreciate the invite.
Good. First of all, for the people that don't know, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I'm Kalitha Summers, and I am the daughter of Elmer Williams. He's a minister. I was born and raised in Kansas. Been in Georgia for about 12 years, since 2011. I went to a historical black university, Alabama State University, so shout out to those Hornets.
Okay.
We've been married for 4 years, together for 5. And
Okay.
that's a little bit about me. I'm a compensation manager. So if you don't know what a compensation manager is, that's a human resource person. They work in human resources.
Okay. Good deal. Okay, so you already know why we're here. There's a lot of things that's affecting the black community, a lot of things that's going on in this country, in this world of ours that we live in. So I just want to get your thoughts in particular on how you feel about a few issues that affect the black community. What are your thoughts on the economic condition affecting you?
Well, the economic condition facing black people is not in a good state. It never was. We were already behind the 8 ball before the pandemic. And post-pandemic, or, as we're coming out of the pandemic, we're even further behind the 8 ball. Today, we went grocery shopping, right? And we went to a local grocer named Ingles. It's an American-owned grocer. And they're one of the cheaper grocery stores that are in our area. We have like Publix and things of that nature, and Walmart, stuff like that. But everybody's prices have skyrocketed. A gallon of milk used to cost like $2.58, is now like close to $4.25. So that's all impacting us. Gas was prior to the pandemic, and I can even go back and remember how gas used to be just 70 cents when I first started driving. Aging myself right there, but before, when we had pre-Katrina, Hurricane Katrina, I think gas was like $1.70, and then it went up to the $2, and then with the pandemic last year, or 3 years ago, we were at roughly $2. Now we've been like steadily at $3.65 or $3.35 in the Georgia area. I know that's a lot of people that might see this show. They're probably saying, well, that's pretty good. We have gasoline prices is $5 if they're in California, and maybe $6 or $7 if they're in Hawaii. So I know we might be feeling that economic crunch and here in Georgia for just that. But black people as a whole, we're not higher paid individuals. We're always doing the, as they call the frontline workers and things of that, but we don't get the frontline pay. So we're always being heavily impacted. And one of my jobs, my job actually is as a compensation manager is to evaluate base pay. So I look at pay and pay ranges on a daily basis, and I see how inflation has gone up and how the frontline workers are not keeping up with inflation trends. Here in the state of Georgia, I don't know if all of you know, but we don't even have a state minimum wage that is higher than our federal minimum wage. So our
Wow.
federal minimum wage is $7.25, and Georgia's state minimum wage is $5.75, y'all. $5.75. Who can live on $5.75? I mean, because the federal minimum wage is in place, it's regulated where they have to pay $7.25, but they don't have to pay $15. They don't have to pay like some of these other states are now currently paying. They're scaling it up. Like they might pay, like Florida, for instance. They were at $9 an hour, but they have like a stage phased approach where by 2024, 2025, they'll be at $15 an hour. And California, they're already up there. New York, things of that nature. Colorado. There's a lot of states around the area that are around the country that are actually looking and protecting wages, but not really. I haven't seen that in our southern states. So, sorry, I'm just rambling on.
No, that's good information to have. Which brings me to my next point. All those things that you just mentioned, right? Um, what do you think that is most affecting the black community as a whole, as a group?
As a group collectively, I think that it's a package deal, right? So I think that racism impacts us as a whole. White supremacy is collective, so you really have white supremacy, and then based upon supremacy, you have the fundamentals that are a part of white supremacy. So you have racism, you have economic classism, then you have some of the other things that are, destroying us as a collective, which is the push of the alphabet group, which is your LGBTQ plus whatever XYZ. That's why I call them the alphabet group, because they've taken over the whole alphabet and the rainbow colors. But I have nothing against them and their lifestyle. I mean, other than morality, I don't agree with their lifestyle, but it is, in a way, taking away from a black family unit. When you push the agenda to be with someone of your same sex, that's not a natural course of action to have children or to procreate. And so those little collective nuggets will diminish the black overall people.
What do you say to those people that, well, I was born this way?
When I say if they were to approach me, is like, so you're saying God is wrong, especially with the transgender people. Again, no disrespect to them. This is my own public belief, and I'm not saying this as hate speech. And the only thing that I do kind of disagree with that alphabet group community is anytime that you speak your opinion, your beliefs, your moral values, they immediately think that you're attacking them, and it's just that you are opposed to their beliefs. I'm not speaking hate. I'm not speaking that I want them to die or anything of that nature. I'm just saying what I personally believe and how I personally feel as a person. You might have a different belief and a different person. But when it comes to them saying things like that, me being a Christian, it says that God created man. Now, if God said that he created man as a man and a woman as a woman, how do you turn around and say that when you are in a body of a woman, that God made a mistake and created you as a man?
Right.
To me, that kind of is hypocrisy, blasphemy. How do you say that God is wrong for creating you in the body that he designed for you to be in? I don't get that, but that's them. I don't have to stand before the judgment seat on their behalf. I can only stand before God for what Kalitha is accountable for.
Right. It's an interesting point. When I was talking about things that affect us as a group, I meant not just in the United States, but in this world. What I mean by the world, I'm sure you've heard about how Kamala Harris had went to, I think, Uganda or whatnot to try to push the LGBTQ agenda and try to push the Western lifestyle over there, and they blatantly refused that. And I commend the Ugandan government for doing that. And a lot of people don't realize this, that it's over 30 countries in Africa that have strong, strict laws against LGBTQ. And a lot of people don't realize this, but family is important. Family is important.
It really is.
When you're trying to take the male, in particular, our males, out of our household, by criminalizing them, that kind of thing, the feminization movement, all of those things right there are destroying the black man, destroying the family structure. Because let's be realistic here. It begins with the male.
It does.
And once you can tear down, that strong male figure in the household, then what do you have? Family is important. It's very important, to just build up the community, because that's where it begins at.
Right.
You can have no community without family. So I'm a very strong believer in that, and I understand completely what you're saying. And it brings me to my next point, because they're passing laws in a lot of states, in particular Florida, preventing Black history from being taught. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, in your opinion, how important is our history to our communities?
Our history is very important to our communities and to us as an overall collective. Can't know where you're going unless you know where you've been. I mean, it's kind of hard to try to make a roadmap if you don't know where you've been at. You can say all day long, I'm trying to make a trip to New York. But if you don't know where you're at currently and you don't know where you've been, how can you ever make that trip? And that's just the same way with history. How do we making sure that we don't misstep and make any of the previous errors of our ways to get us back into a condition of slavery again? If you don't acknowledge that you've been enslaved, and you don't acknowledge that you have had any kind of Jim Crow issues, and you just act like that was things of the past, and you just say, oh, well, that was over 50 years ago, or that was over 400 years ago, and we have arrived and we have overcome all those situations now. How do you make sure that you don't fall into those traps again? If you don't analyze history and you don't look at things that are slowly, subtly being done to put you in a place of recession and moving back the needle back into a state of being oppressed people. And there's a lot of people out there that say, oh, we're fine, we're good, we're never going to go back there. But every little subtle measure that people make, and that the government makes, and that even us sometimes make against us, we put ourselves in a state of oppression. And, we ain't going to never do better unless we as an overall collective do better for ourselves. We can't sit around and wait for the government to do anything for us. We've got to fight everything tooth and nail for us. We need to collectively start supporting our own businesses. We got to collectively start supporting one another. We got to stop all this backbiting between male and female. I get very upset when I see men fighting our women and our women going after our men. It's an overall nonsense. We need to come together. Women need to understand their place in the societal atmosphere. I know there's a lot of feminist women like, I'm just as good as a man, and I should be able to do all the same things that a man does. Honey, you really don't mean that. You really don't want to do every single thing that a man should do in a relationship or even in this world. Because, I am completely all feminine and everything, but I don't want to do everything that my husband does. There is no reason why I ever want to do that. I was a single parent prior to our marriage and everything. And believe me, I would have loved, hands down loved to have my husband in my life now at that time. Because of my own foolishness and my own lusts and desires, I went out there outside of God's morals and beliefs, had a child out of wedlock, and then things happen. But still, even at that, I can say that I made that mistake. My son is not, of course, a mistake, but that was my own mistake. And I would never say that I did better than having a husband there, or, having my husband right now with me co-parent and make sure my male son especially was good. So there is never a time where we could lie to ourselves, sisters. We could lie to ourselves all day long because we don't have a man in our lives and we're doing it on our own. But underline, and when you're behind the closed doors and nobody there but you and your children, you are in your closet. If you are any kind of Christian, on your knees saying, "Lord, help me, please get a man in my life so I don't pull my hair out."
Well said. Well said. Well said. You mentioned that we play our part in our own suppression. I don't know if I quoted you verbatim or not, but something along those lines. When you say that, what do you mean exactly by that?
Sometimes, I mean, we as a people just are oppress each other, right? We don't support each other. I mean, that goes back to slavery. That goes back to the Willie Lynch letters and things of that nature, of how we were so indoctrinated to not trust each other, have all this colorism against each other. So I think that is just, we don't support. We don't, we would rather support someone outside of our race, even if they treated or mistreated us in a situation, than to even support our own. And if
to that point, I mean to interrupt you, but to that point, you remember when we was out today, right? And we went to the grocery store, and we walked by a black. I walked by a black gentleman, and we both saw him, right? Mm-hmm. And I nodded my head, "Hey, how you doing?" or whatever. And he just looked at me and kept walking. But then he saw some white people come inside the store, and he was quickly like, "Hey, may I help you? May I help you?" Right? And then not even 10 minutes later, we're in the checkout line, and it's a white guy and a black guy taking care of our grocery, right? The white guy speaks to us and everything. "Hey, how you doing?" or whatever. The black guy didn't even look up, didn't even acknowledge us. Things like that is, we got to get away from in our communities. And to your point, what you said earlier, we play a part in our own demise. We got to do better. I've talked about this plenty of times on my, other shows and whatnot. And, I think that's one of the most frustrating things to me is the way that we treat each other. But yet we pull the step and fetch it routine when it comes to, people of other races, in particular, the white race. So, like I said, I'm a firm believer that a lot of us are walking around right now. If they could change colors, they would do so. So that may be a stretch, but I don't think so, because I just go by the way that, a lot of us interact with each other.
How they move.
How they move, exactly. How they move. So I didn't mean to interrupt you on that. I just wanted to point that out. But, is there anything else that you want to add to that?
No, I completely 100% agree with you, especially how that young gentleman operated with us. I mean, he didn't know us. We weren't really like, if it was like a waiter or something like that, that would be a preconceived notion that we weren't going to tip. That's how those people typically will act in situations of that. But we were seriously just like walking through the grocery store, just getting, as we see black people and we come and go and interact and see them, we always reach out with a smile, a hello, a welcoming effect. I mean, that's just something from me innate. When I was a little girl, my dad always waving at, black people that he's seen coming and going. And I would ask him, like, "Daddy, who you know those people?" And he'd be like, "No, they black. They my people." And, we need to get back to that mindset, is that just because they ain't your kin, you should still be welcoming and be loving and supportive of them. But just because they ain't your kin, how does this phrase go? Just because they got the same skin, they act like they ain't your kin, or something like that to that aspect.
Hey, just because they're in the same skin doesn't make them kin. So, that's one of the terminologies that we use. But and just because they're black don't mean they got your back.
That's all true.
We could go on and on with that. And but yes, we play a major part in our own demise. And like I said, here it is, 2023, and a lot of us act like we just got out of slavery yesterday. So, but in your opinion, what's the solution?
I believe the solution would be for us as a collective to just do better. We are really the only race, that do not support each other in our own. You look at the Asian community, whether they're, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, you could go into every major city and you could see where they collectively live and dwell. and they're going to support each other. And if someone attacks them, no matter if they like family or not family, they might be relative or not relatives. If they attack their unit, their race, they're going to each stand up for each other. You don't find that in our community at all. We ain't gonna fight for each other. We ain't gonna really support each other in that. Oh, they might have done it. It's things of that nature. But the Jewish community, they do the same thing. They're very supportive. They're very strong on their community. They take pretty much their pride of their community. The Hispanic community, the Latino community, they are a family unit. It's us against the world. But you don't find that with our African American here on this continent of the United States, in the Americas. They don't collectively, I won't say they, because that's probably stretching, because there might be some of us, like me and my husband. I'm sure there's others out in the diaspora. How do you say it, babe?
Diaspora.
There might be some of us that collectively do not move in that direction, and move opposite of everybody else. But collectively, we need to just do better. We need to support our own, and we need to stop supporting these companies and these people that are not collectively doing things for our agenda. It's like with anything, like with politics and politicians, we shouldn't be supporting those that are not collectively putting forth any efforts or agendas for us as a Black overall collective. I mean, you shouldn't, just because your parents and your parents' parents were a Democrat or a Republican, you shouldn't just go down the line and say, I'm that person, I'm that party, or that party is my political background. And it's kind of like we have the same mentality even when we go to church. It's like, I was born a Baptist, I'm a die Baptist. People do the same thing with politics. I was born a Democrat, I'm a die Democrat. I was born a Republican, I'm a die Republican. But really, we are the only race, again, that we really only do a straight party ticket. We don't think on our own critical thinking thought processes of what is going to help and benefit our communities. We don't even take time to even research who the people are on the ballot, and then to even know what their position is. We just say, oh, it's a Democrat, let me check. So we don't even know, or even Republican. I'm not trying to push Republican or Democratic. Me and my husband, we are independent voters because we're independent thinkers. We go through the ballots and try to figure out who is benefiting us, and then if they're not benefiting us, we're not voting. Right now we're on the mindset that if you are not bringing forth reparations or any kind of thought process of how you're going to get reparations to us, we're not voting. We're withholding the vote.
We have to get away from that slave mentality. The Black community has been supporting Democrat for ever since the FDR administration. But you have to know your history in regards to both parties. If you really think about it, neither party has had our best interest. They both use the Black vote, for their benefit. But what benefit has collectively the Black people have gotten from either party? And individually, I think each person needs to ask themselves, just really ask themselves and just be honest. What has either party, in particular now, the Democratic Party, because Black people have been overwhelmingly has been supporting the Democratic Party for, like I said, since the FDR administration. And ask yourself, what have they done for you? And if you honestly can say, you know what, they haven't really done anything for us, then you have some soul searching to do, because they haven't done anything. And like I said, neither party really has our best interest. But at the same time, our vote is important, because if it wasn't important, then they wouldn't make sure that they try to get it. In particular, right now in the Democratic Party. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I like to, just mention, as you said, especially like the Democratic Party is, I have to admit, I voted for Joe Biden. Because I was on the mindset of the lesser of two evils, voting on the lesser of two evils. And I also will be very candid and honest and transparent and say that my thought process before was that, okay, I got sympathetic, I would get emotional and be like, oh, I have to vote because my people died, my ancestors died for the voting rights. But no, honestly, when you think about it, our ancestors died for freedom, not for the vote. Um, and honestly, if we actually, as to a collective, think with our mind and say, oh, these people are misusing us, using us, and abusing us, and think that they have the arrogance enough to say that if you ain't voting Democrat, you ain't black. Oh, what? You got a kid? I mean, you really think that you own my vote like that, and you ain't doing anything for us? And I'm getting ebonic, so forgive me, but still, you really are that arrogant to think that you have the audacity to say that you just are going to assume that everybody black is going to get the vote. And again, I'm not telling people to go out and vote Republican because, as we said, neither one has our best interests at heart. But until they actually are doing for us, maybe the Democrats need to get a waking up call and say, the black people are tired of y'all just using and misusing and swinging on our coattail, getting the vote and not doing anything once you get there. Because again, I could bring to the point of that, there's certain situations that have happened in the past that are just recent, right? We got the Asian hate crime bill.
Right.
So Biden passed the Asian hate crime bill, and by all means, nothing to my Asians. They're trying to make y'all the model minority. But there's nothing against them. All BS. All beside Asian Americans, y'all good. But how is it that we don't have a African American hate crime bill? We were the original minorities that were brought to this country to build this country on the blood, sweat, and tears of our ancestors, but yet we can't even get an executive order for a hate crime bill. And to that point, the alphabet group has a hate crime bill. So you can call me the N-word all days long, and that's not a hate crime bill or a hate crime. You can say anything derogatory about me being that ugly, African, all kinds of stuff, and that not be a hate crime. But yet they have pushed and passed these legislations for these other races and these other gender-oriented groups, and they have actually caught a hold of our civil rights bill that was intended for us and actually progressed higher and faster than us.
And to your point also, I was looking at something on YouTube, and they mentioned the state of Michigan is passing a law in regards to if someone calls someone of the LGBT, Q community the wrong pronoun, they could be charged for that. Imagine that.
So how are you supposed to know? I mean, are you now walking around with a pronoun on your shirt? I like to be called she or her, or they or them, or his or him. I mean, come on. How is one person supposed to know what the other person's preference is? I mean, honestly, again, I'm in HR. I try to be political inside my corporate job. So I don't call anybody by pronouns. I just don't. I mean, because I don't agree with that whole thing morality wise. But what I will call you is your name. So if you say your name or what your name is, that's what you're getting called with me. Every conversation, I'll be like, yes, Bill, or yes, Jill. Yes, Bill, or yes, Jill. I ain't calling you by a pronoun at all. Because I don't believe in that. I believe that God made you what you look like and what you should have been brought into this world with.
And no one's saying that, we have something against you or anything like that. No, we have something against the lifestyle. And the problem that I have, with that community is that everywhere you look, whether it's like media, at work or what have you, it's like they're trying to push that lifestyle on everyone else. But I don't see a big push to force heterosexuality on people. No one's talking about that. They're always talking about pushing that lifestyle on people. Case in point with Kamala Harris, what she tried to do in the African countries, in particular Uganda. So I have a problem with that.
Can I
You know,
ask
that's
you
the
a
problem that I
question
have.
with that? Now,
Yeah, go
so
ahead.
they went to the African countries. So they went to Uganda. They're trying to push the lifestyle on these African countries. Why would you think that they're trying to push it so hard on our black countries, our black African countries, and not on any of the Saudi countries? Because they also too have strong convictions and laws about that kind of lifestyle, and so do their own Caucasian people. I mean, Russia has these kind of strong convictions, and I believe the Ukraine does too. They have
Absolutely.
these
Absolutely.
strong convictions about that lifestyle, but yet they're not
Absolutely.
over there pushing it on these Caucasian people. They're trying to push it on us melanated people. Why is that? You got to sometimes take a get the emotions out of the way and just sit back and think logical, think critical, and be like, why is it that they're doing that? Why are they so eager and desiring to do it on the black continent, and not on these other continents with these other people? They're really pushing the agenda on them. But you ain't heard Kamala Harris stepping foot in Russia and trying to tell Putin what they gonna do, or even in the Ukraine. They giving billions of dollars to Ukraine to help them with this war, but they ain't never been over there to President Zelensky and said, well, you know what, President Zelensky, we're not giving you another aid to help you with this Russian war until you guys decide to accept the alphabet group. They ain't doing nothing like that like they did Uganda. They told Uganda, if you guys don't help us, if you guys don't accept this lifestyle, we are not going to be there for you. And if you don't believe us, check it out. All you have to do is do a search. She was there.
Exactly. Exactly. You know, and what you just mentioned about billions of dollars to the Ukrainians, all this money supporting the migrants from south of the border, shipping these people to all these major African cities, in particular Philadelphia, Chicago, Atlanta, D.C. They're giving all this money to these individuals. They're doing everything they can to help the LGBTQ communities, whatnot, right? So this is something it's like very dear to my heart, and something that I've done a lot of research on, something that you and I have talked about a lot. And it's reparations.
Right.
What are your thoughts on reparations? Do you feel we deserve reparations, and why?
Okay, so my thought on reparations would be for anyone is that I would be like, yes and yes. Yes, we deserve reparations. And mostly I would say we deserve reparations because not only were we mistreated and our ancestors were mistreated, but for so long were they mistreated, and how we are still being mistreated, and how we still have not caught up to today's society. And I know there's a lot of white people or Caucasian Americans that would say, well, you just need to work harder. And I know there is even some African Americans out there that say, y'all just need to work harder. There's no such thing as racism anymore, and there's no such thing as that you can't have the American dream, right? That's what people would try to push the agenda. But when you have been put behind 400 years, you had a 400-year head start. How can you ever try to excel? And